What's good, YouTube? Quasar here. Today I'm going to be bringing you guys my updated Tellarknight deck, and this time I mixed it with Kaijus. And I think this will be a really awesome and neat deck to bring into the Zodiac format that'll just kind of like come out of nowhere because it still has a lot of really awesome combos that you can pull off that works so well with Tellarknights and Kaijus together. So I think this deck can still be a really good contender to be very competitive in today's meta. So going back like right into the deck, we have 3 copies of Deneb. So this is basically your same Tellarknight engine. I mean, by now you should know what they do. Like, obviously, you got to play 3 Deneb. She's the search. 3 copies of Unocal High. We bumped this up to 3 again, obviously, because Rhoda's at 1. She's the Foolish Burial. 3 copies of Altair. He's basically the Wolf Bark. Once you resolve its effect, though, you can only attack with Tellarknight monsters, so just keep that in mind. 1 copy of Vega, 1 copy of Regal. Regal's pretty good, actually. I like the fact that you can just drop this guy, make him 2400, and kind of just swing over a lot of different things. Like, you could use your Gamma Seal, tribute over something, summon this guy, bump him up to 24, and you can still beat over that Gamma Seal. So that's really awesome there. That's 11 Tellarknights. Really simple, really straightforward. The Kaiju engine, I'm playing 1 copy of Jizukuri. He's the Star Destroying, so he's like a 33 beater. He's the one you want to be summoning on your side when you activate Slumber. 1 copy of Dogrin, so he's 3000. So if you already have used your Jizukuri, he's like your second option that you'd want to be summoning onto your side. Homunculus, the sticky string one, so he's a lower attack point, 24, so you'd usually want to be summoning this guy off of like the second interrupted Kaiju Slumber onto your opponent's side of the field. So usually, like, if you've already resolved 1 without having like any Kaijus, you'd probably just summon these 2, but the first Kaiju Slumber, you'd probably want to be going Gamma Seal and Jizukuri. So basically this guy's 33, Gamma Seal, you know, is 22. So that'll be an instant 1100. But the beauty with the Kaijus along with the Tellarknights, after you resolve the Slumber, you don't necessarily have to go right into battle phase. Then start bringing out your Tellarknights because this is a special summon. Try to go for Trivor. Trivor will then bounce these back to your hand so you can tribute again over your opponent's shit. And Trivor will just, again, get you your 21 direct. And you can easily loop Trivor too because I am playing 2. You just need to activate Call of the Haunted at the right time. Bringing out your Altair, bring out Vega, bring out Deneb, overlay all 3, drop Trivor, returns the Call of the Haunted to the hand, returning all of your Kaijus that are on board back to your hand, attack directly. Then if your opponent has a response, that's totally fine because all you do is Kaiju over it next turn and then just activate your Call of the Haunted. Do that exact same loop, bring out Trivor, bounce that Kaiju back to your hand. So I just love the fact that they interact so well, and this deck could just be a potential sleeper deck that no one will see coming. And then of course the last 2 monsters, Max C, still has to be played because if your opponent's going off and you drop this, you could potentially be drawing like 15 cards if they do like an entire Zodiac loop. So or your opponent will just stop in their tracks if they don't want you to draw. So definitely has to be played. Best hand trap of the format by far. Moving on to the spell cards, we have 3 copies of Interrupted Kaiju Slumber. Now this card's really good, obviously, because it's essentially a dark hole that allows you to summon a kaiju on each side of the field. You already know, I already explained that part. And then if this card's in your graveyard, you can just banish it to search any kaiju card from your deck to your hand. So that's another really awesome effect too. So just to have that in your back pocket, add like whatever you need, tribute over something, and then you can just continue on your plays from there. 2 copies of Ties of Brethren. I don't think 3 is really necessary. I still see this card like so often, even in my opening hand, even though I only play it at 2. Usually you want to be summoning your Unokalhai and your Deneb off of this, but it also depends on what you already have on field. You can always opt for like Vega or Wriggle. You're just not going to be summoning anything off of Vega because after this resolves you can no longer special summon. But this card is still way too good to not play. 1 copy of Rhoda just to search, obviously. 1 copy of Regeki to nuke boards. And now Tellarknights have their own kind of back row destruction with the release of Invasion Vengeance. So Tellarknight Genesis basically destroyed back row equal to the number of Tellarknights you control. So again, timing with this is crucial because it has to be an exact number. If your opponent has 2 back row, make sure you only have 2 Tellarknights on board when you activate this, because you won't be able to resolve it if you only have, or if you have like 3 Tellarknights on board but your opponent only has 2 targets. If you do have other back row, you're actually going to have to destroy your own too. So that's just a word of caution, but I still think this card is amazing. You can destroy up to 5. If your opponent has 5 back row, you control 5 Tellarknights. This is essentially Harpy's Feather Duster. Just timing is key when it comes to that card. And then last card I play is Upstart Goblin, because who doesn't love a 39 card deck? Moving on to the traps, you still have to play 3 copies of Alpha. Again, is basically the Solemn Judgment of the deck. Your opponent activates a spell, trap, or monster effect. Tribute a Tellarknight you control, negate the activation, destroy that card, and then you get to draw a card. So basically you lose your monster on field, but you get another card in hand. So really good. 3 copies of Call of the Haunted. You still have to be playing this card because you can just keep looping Trigger, keep setting them. Bringing back like your Deneb during your opponent's end phase allows you a search, and then you just get like a free plus basically, so you can easily go into Trigger next turn and just return it back and continue on that loop. And then of course the 1 copy of Oasis, which is essentially the same thing, but it brings it back as a worm in defense mode, but that doesn't really matter. 2 copies of Dimension Barrier, because this is probably the best trap of the format. It's still chainable off of things like Twin Twister. So once you know what your opponent's playing, for example, you're facing off against the Zoos, you just flip this during their standby phase and call like Z's, and they have no plays for the turn. And lastly, for traps, I am playing the Solemn Brigade, so 3 strikes, 1 warning. So this just completely shuts down all of your opponent's summons. Basically, with this deck, you don't want them to have any monsters on board ever. You're going to be trivering shit back. D-Barrier stops them from summoning. Your strikes and warnings are going to stop them from summoning. Your Interrupted Kaiju Slumber is going to nuke the board. So this deck can push for damage really easily, and all you need to do is the basic loop. It's really linear deck, really straightforward, but it's so much fun to play, and it is still highly competitive. So I suggest, if you don't want to be playing zoos, because fucking everyone's playing zoos, this is another really awesome Xyz deck to be playing. Now moving on to the extra deck, we are playing the one copy of Deltaros. Gotta love Ghost Rare. You don't really go into him as often. I mean, he's still a great card. You can just detach to pop a card on the field. Also, while he's on the board, your opponent cannot activate cards in response to a summon. So this really helps if you have this and you're trying to make an Xyz summon, your opponent can't flip the D barrier, or for example, like a bottomless or any trap hole card. But do know they can still activate things like Solemn Warning and Solemn Strike, so it doesn't get around everything, but it does still help stun the opponent slightly. 2 copies of Trivers, so you can essentially keep looping these. If you have one on board, overlay 3 to drop another one. This one will return to the extra deck for next turn, and then activate your Call of the Haunted next turn to special summon whatever, overlay all 3, drop this, return this back to the extra deck. So that's essentially your main combo that you want to be pulling off along with Kaijus. Tribute over something, return your Kaiju back to your hand, and basically just keep pushing with this guy until you have game. The new Dark Tellarknight is actually really awesome. I love the fact that it only takes 2 materials. It also makes all monsters on the field dark. So it has some great synergy with Diamond. You can also use her effect during either player's turn once you have 7 or more Tellarknights in your graveyard. You have to detach one and then discard a card. So, I mean, the discard kind of sucks, but you basically rank it up with any Tellarknight Xyz monster. You can go Diamond, you can go Triver, you can even go Deltaros. So I really like that ability. And then, like, if you have this guy on board during opponent's turn and you have the 7 materials in graveyard, detach, discard, drop Triver on your opponent's turn. They won't see it coming. Everything gets bounced back. Really, really broken. Or you can just detach to drop this like main phase 1, because you can only use Diamond's effect in order to overlay during main phase 2. The fact that it makes everything dark is awesome. So, like, even if it were to leave the field, everything still stays dark. Once something touches down on board, it becomes dark. And now that you'd have Diamond on board, if it tried to activate its effect, you can always just detach to negate. Your 1 copy of number 86, you can drop this guy fairly easily with all 5 materials in this deck. So definitely still has to be played. 1 copy of Tsukiyomi just to kind of get rid of some bricky hands. Dark Rebellion Xyz, really good. Probably one of my favorite rank 4s, just because it can absorb half of a monster's attack and then deal 25 direct. You have 101, you have Castel, Abyss Dweller, Gagaga. Like, these are all like really basic rank 4s, so any rank 4 deck, you're obviously going to be playing these guys. And then last but not least, you obviously also have the Utopia package. Again, playing all 3 with Ray. Again, I mean, I've said this like, I don't know, a million fucking times now. You play it with Ray, so you have access to Lightning's effect twice. That's my deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.